Order at 7:03. If we could please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Willett, if you want to do acknowledgements.
Sure. So, as you are aware, we do celebrations and acknowledgements at the beginning of many of our meetings. And today what we're going to do is we are going to celebrate and acknowledge the para and the teacher of the year for the Tolland Public Schools. And so I'm going to read a narrative, and this narrative is deliberately not going to have the name of the person in it. And then at the end of that narrative, I will tell you who this is, but the students already found. Maybe you don't, but if you don't, surprise. So we'll do this for each one. All right, so starting with the teacher of the year. This teacher has worked in the Tolland Public School System for 20 years. As superintendent, I've known this teacher in both a supervisory role and a union role, and she served as president of the local CEA. In addition, I have worked with this teacher on projects and leadership activities, and I'd recommend this teacher without reservation for Teacher of the Year for her excellence as a teacher and her engagement and leadership in the many committees and in the community and self-improvement activities, school improvement activities, although I'm sure she's involved in something. Her professionalism and dedication to children in the field of education is unparalleled. This teacher is known to the Tolland Public Schools to be an exemplary teacher. She works to establish rapport with her students and is always mindful of fostering supportive, safe, and enriching environments. Not only has she contributed to the success of students in her classroom through her teaching, she also supported student needs as the Tolland Alternative Learning Center teacher, yearbook advisor, kindness club advisor, diversity club advisor, school student council advisor, hunger banquet advisor, and mock trial advisor. In addition to engaging students on a myriad of levels and in many activities, the teacher also involved herself in the school improvement efforts, studying the social studies inquiry practices, developing the Names Can Really Hurt Us program, being on multiple hiring committees, and providing leadership in the development of the African American, Black, and Puerto Rican Latino course. She was also very involved in the Culture and Climate Committee, Culturally Responsive Education Committee, Professional Development Committee, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports Committee, and served as a chair in the NEAS&C, which is the New England Association of School and Colleges chair for our visit for school evaluation. She's also awesome in helping us create and write school support grants and helps participate in the Teaching American History grant project. She is a professional dedicated to the welfare of students and staff. She engages in every aspect of the district, including the Wellness Committee, and has provided consistent and constant insights. She mentors teachers in the TEAM program for our school system. She is a consummate professional. As you can tell, there's so many things she's done. I could sit here for an hour and go on and on. The teacher of the year is Shelley Manning, and she is the social studies teacher of the high school.
When does she have time to do anything else? Which all
She does, and we do have the joke is that we give the teacher of the year a big Cadillac, but we don't say that it is a we call it
drivable one.
yeah the tiny the really small model car, but it's signed the model car is signed by all the teachers of the year from the time so each teacher of the year gets it every year and then gives it to the next.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool addition.
And now there's two because we have just more signatures. You had to have
Yep,
two
yep.
cars. And I went to her class the other day to give her her cars. All right, para of the year. Our para of the year started at Parker Elementary School. Remember that school? In 1994 as a special education paraprofessional. She worked there for a year and then went to Tolland Middle School. And she has worked at Tolland Middle School ever since. She was a TMS cheerleading coach for 2 years in 1998, and this paraprofessional has been an asset in so many ways to the school district it's hard to count. She has helped teachers with every project, and helped teachers with many grants. She has established meaningful bonds not only with students of special education, but also with students in the general population and other populations. She is hardworking, reliable, extremely organized. She keeps detailed records of everything done in every class and is always the first one there. She easily gets her hand on materials and will go out of her way to get materials on her own for the classes. She has a strong understanding of the curriculum, and she is known to help kids feel comfortable and safe in the school environment. She also has an incredibly strong presence in the cafeteria, which is something that you need at the middle school, and that's Kathy Bass. Celebrating them today as Teacher of the Year and Pair of the Year. There's actually a state competition now that they can go into. I don't know if Kathy's decided to do that, but I know Shelley has. So Shelley's put in for the state of Connecticut Teacher of the Year, and I think she has a really good chance of winning that. So stay tuned because there's more to come on that.
That's really awesome. It's exciting. Do we have to do anything for her entering into that, or you just?
No, I write her letters of support, other people that she's reached out to, and then we submit it. She submits it, and wait and see. Lynn Bridge was a semifinalist a few years ago.
Yeah.
She was almost there. Of course, she could have been too easily. All of our teachers could have been. In fact, COVID interrupted the Teacher of the Year stuff.
If I remember correctly, wasn't the entire DECA, a lot of your DECA folks were here?
Yep.
When you awarded that to Mrs. Bridge, I think it was pretty fantastic.
That was a great, both teachers, Mrs. Manning this year, well deserved. Miss Vassar too. It's, I mean, we both had her in middle school and then Mrs. Manning in high school. That's just so cool, a cool moment.
I've known Ms. Vassar for years, and she was there when I was a principal first. She's always been amazing benefit to children.
Yeah, thank you for their dedication. That's fantastic. That's what our school system runs on. So, let's move to approval of agenda. We don't have any changes on here tonight. Approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the August 18th and the August 24th minutes.
So moved.
Sophia Shake seconds.
Okay, any discussion at this point? I know we have Griffin and Florida. I see your hand.
Yes, hi guys. I'd just like to have my statement included in its entirety in those minutes. There was a lot of just what I said in different paragraphs, but I'd like to have my statement in there.
Okay. Have a statement to go off of, or you just did what it was?
If I wasn't handed a document, it would be traditional.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so at this point then, do we get a written statement to,
I can email it and have it included.
so do you want to hold off on that then? And then we can approve them once they are corrected?
Yeah, or amended, they can be
Okay,
amended
amended.
to add that statement.
Okay, want to do that then?
So will be amended to that statement.
Yeah. So then I guess we should have separated them, but I guess we could just add the amendment on the vote. Okay. Any other further discussion?
Excuse me, what date was that?
That was the special meeting, the 18th. Okay, no other comments? Okay, all those in favor, well, I guess we have other ones, so we'll do roll call vote. We'll start with you.
Aye. Aye.
And we have Christina.
Aye.
Griffin.
Aye.
I as well, therefore they pass with the amendment to the 18th. At this time, public participation, our viewers in the room, we have two, and anyone online, if you are in the room, you can come over here to like the corner if you want, and if you ladies want to move to the side, you can do that as well, because the owl will pick you up when you talk, and it just kind of follows you. I mean, it's kind of creepy, but you know, it is the day and age that we're in. If you are online, if you could please raise your hand, and we just need your name and your address, and we do have a timer online that Dr. Willett will start once you speak. Okay, anyone online? Guys in here? Just figure it out today. Okay, seeing that there is none, I will close off the public participation and we will move on to correspondence, which Jacob will provide.
All right. So we had 9 emails since our last meeting. An email asking when video recordings of recent board meetings will become available. An email criticizing how the censure process was handled. An email asking if there is a pending legal suit against the district and if board members were advised whether to speak to the litigants. An email expressing the author's approval of Dr. Willett. An email thanking the Board of Ed and Dr. Willett for a successful first day of school. An email from a religious group. An email inquiring about a TMS survey. The author asks if the board needs to approve surveys. An email inquiring about a survey given to students. The author expresses a lack of trust when dealing with getting information from the district. And an email asking for the Board of Ed to consider working with parents' schedules when creating the school calendar and schedule. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. At this point, I will open it up for board members.
Just a quick question, because I saw that email that came through, I think it was today or yesterday about scheduling and when, you know, it's hard for parents. On average, how much notice do parents get as of right now in terms of open houses and any events that go on in the school? What's the process, I guess? Is it, you know, a month out, you start saying, okay, I'm just curious what the process is and sort of how far ahead you
I think, and I could be wrong, and I'm gonna check this, but I think we put out the open houses at the end of last year.
Okay.
I think they were in one of the last superintendent bulletins. Okay. So probably a couple of months.
Gotcha.
But I will say, not everybody opens up the digital backpack, and therefore even the 6th grade, you know, whatever they had for overview, like there was maybe 8 parents that went. So, I mean, I didn't even know. So I think we need to somehow up that with whether we do like a Facebook listing of like, here are all the open houses, like do something a little bit more direct that we don't have to click through.
Yeah, sure, we'll use Facebook. We have in the past. We'll
I mean, maybe
Post something
communications
to
to come up with a cute little something posted, I don't know.
I'd love to. And I'm gonna review all the open house dates tonight.
Perfect. Okay, any other notes? Nothing online? Dr. Willett, did you have anything? No, okay. Moving on. Happy to report that we have new student representatives. So I don't know if we have, do you have a little write-up, Dr. Willett, or not? I don't know. He always has.
Actually, so we can let them speak for themselves.
Absolutely. So welcome, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
So I'm Mira Sheikh. I'm a sophomore in high school.
And I'm Audrey Talent. I'm also a sophomore in high school.
And we wrote a little list of like some things we want to talk about. So the school year's just started, so there's not a lot of things happening right now. But in regards to open house, so that open house is on September 22nd. And the student council will help advise parents on where the freshmen's classes are. And teachers, I know my teacher, Miss Ennis, is starting to assign assignments to students to present at open house. Like my Spanish class, we're making these blogs to show the parents what we're doing right now.
So also this Friday, there's a welcome back dance that's put on by the senior class. I know a few people that are going, I know a few people who aren't, but I do think that it's a very good idea to have this welcome back dance, especially for the seniors who have missed out on at least a chunk of their high school experience. So I'm very excited about that.
And then in regards to the phone controlling, I know that in all my classes, I think in all classes in high school, they have these like lunch boxes that students have to put their phones in. Some teachers are more strict than others. I know that in the beginning of the school year, it was required that we put our phones in. But now what most teachers are doing is if you keep your phone out of sight, then they won't call you out for it. But once they see it, then they'll take it for the rest of the class. And I think the repercussions have been stronger, which I think is good because I've seen a lot less phones out in class, which has been very beneficial.
In addition to that, I don't hear, at the beginning of the year, I heard a lot of complaints about it, but that seemed to have calmed down a lot now, including mine. So another thing that's starting up is sports and clubs, both seem to be doing well. Our Tolland Eagles are doing sports and they're doing them well. Our clubs are going well. I've been a few of them. They seem to be running pretty smoothly. And I think that it's a good start to the year.
And then not only clubs are doing good, but so are the pathways. I'm part of the engineering pathway, and we've already had two things. One was, I think last week, the dean of the engineering school of UConn was welcomed in, and they gave a little demonstration of what the school has to offer, which is really beneficial to all the students in the pathway. And I know that we were also invited to a TSA meeting, which is going to happen later this week or next week, which would be exciting. And I know also the business pathway is doing a lot. And I think it's been really helpful because last year kind of started off slowly. So now like that we're starting fast and getting right into it.
And finally, last weekend, I think last weekend, we participated at the student council in Celebrate Tolland. We gave out temporary tattoos and we accepted donations for the Betsy Brocious Scholarship. We raised $109.56. Don't know where the cents came in, but they did, and we're thankful. And we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of good, and it was a very exciting opportunity. And I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you, ladies. This was very exciting to actually get a whole report about everything. Just so board members remember, one had a little buzz box a few years back. You guys remember that? Were you here? No.
We weren't here, but.
You weren't here. So she had a very awesome science project that it stuck with me, and I was trying to get the newest one too to come in because I think it's fantastic to actually see our students work and see what they're doing. It's really awesome. I saw your.
Oh, that was probably the most thorough. I would like that. I appreciate what you said about the phones because that's a policy that we've been discussing a bit. I know they've talked about it a bit in policy, so it's interesting to hear how that's actually playing out. So it seems like they've gotten over the hump with it.
Yeah.
Or less and figured out how to work with it functionally, which is good.
I just wanted to say how excited I am to have Audrey and Mira here. My son is in their grade, so I have known them for a very long time, been a room mom, volunteered in the classes and field trips. They've always been such bright and kind leaders, so it is no surprise to me at all that they're here as sophomores, and our students are very lucky to be represented by you, so welcome.
Thank you.
I'm just making a pitch. You should be partners in DECA starting this year.
I do that.
You do that. So now you have to get doing that. And once you do that, partner up in DECA, go on to win nationals and all of that.
Okay.
You guys bounce off each other great. That was awesome. Sorry.
I love it. That's perfect. Anyone else? Anyone online? Just welcome. I know, very excited. That was a very excellent report.
Yeah.
I think it's different because, you know, the last students who were still a lot virtual and then still in masks and all those things. So I think this is kind of just a refreshing situation. And it's nice because our last couple of groups were all seniors, right? So maybe you can depend to see how long you're gonna be with us. Maybe all 3 years would be exciting. But no, you guys are well beyond your years. You guys did a great job.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. If you have any questions, I might know a person that could answer. That's true. Okay, so let's bounce down to the monthly financial report. Dr. Willett.
Right. So everybody at home, I'm trying to blow the screen up as much as I can. Just want to scroll down, so I'm speaking to what's on the screen here, sorry. It's minutes, lots of minutes. Wish I had music.
Oh, I know that you're capable of singing.
I am, yeah. I'll save that for everyone for later.
I still have that saved.
Yeah, but we want the students to hang around. Don't we? All right, so as we do at the first First meeting of every month, we do have our monthly budget report. As you recall, it usually, or it always goes to the close of the last month. So this one is for the month of August. Month of August closed with a balance of $3,662,614, or 8.8% of our overall. Couple of noteworthy highlights for it. The salaries are, are currently over budget. For hiring some of the new positions in paras, the current balance is 69,000 over, which is slightly over for this time of year, but it'll probably adjust. Substitute available balance is 287,000 under budget because this is the beginning of the year. Overtime expenses cannot be encumbered, so they're going to be under budget, and that's 176,000. Stipends are currently under budget. Similar to prior years, past experience that not all stipends have been encumbered for the year. Pay to play fees, pay to participate are not collected. So this line looks off until we get to the end and those are fully collected. Health insurance, severance, employee benefits are collectively 137,000 at this time. Newly hired employees, the medical, Medicare, Social Security, that type of thing. That's going to be an available balance of 117 under, but that makes sense. A lot of these are going to be higher as you might think, be thinking, because it is the beginning of the year, and that's usually how that will, that kind of balance will usually be in there in August. Retirements, course reimbursements, unemployment, again, under 87, benefits, consultants, workers' comp balances are under 61. Legal, audit, tech services are collectively under by 247 in August, but those lines do get expended as the year goes along, as you're aware. All repair, maintenance, custodial, cleaning expenses, technical expenses continue to be spent along the course of the year. And so, right now you can expect all of these mainly to have a healthy balance, and most of them all being positive. Transportation is under for 417K. The bus routes have not fully been expended yet. Special education tuitions are temporarily under budget, but as you know, as we go through the year and make those expenses and placements, that tends to get balanced out. Energy expenses transferred to the town utility internal service fund. Textbooks have not been fully expended, as you might imagine, because this is August. And instructional supplies and so on, again, not fully expended because this is August. That's more or less the rundown. And for those of you at home, if you scroll down on the agenda, you do have the monthly financials for all of the lines that I just talked about.
Okay, at this time, does any board member have any questions? Couple.
So the substitutes, if you include the encumbrances, it's like 80%. I'm just got two questions. So it's only August 31st is when this report was ran, so I can't imagine we used any substitutes in the month of August. Is that because are those like people who booked vacations in advance, so they already know that there's a sub, and that's why it's
There's that, there's PD.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
use subs to cover for professional development.
Oh, okay.
Especially if you have new people in, you might need 18 hours of bridges training, say, for the new people.
Yeah.
And you'd have to either get sub coverage or oftentimes pay them after hours, or if you can't do it during the day, you have to do it after.
Okay. Is that a good place to be then for this time of year, about 80% left?
Yeah, I mean, for that line, sure. When subs will get incurred as we hit winter, as we hit the sickness,
Yeah.
and illness, all of those.
Okay. And another question I had was with workers' comp, it looks like it's already including encumbrances, negative over budget. Then I assume that there's going to be probably some more expenses incurred over the year. So I was just curious if you had any guidance on the outlook for that.
Yeah, it's an increase in the karma coverage.
Okay.
So that's what happened there. And I wondered that myself, which interestingly enough, sent that email and got it back today that it was our karma rate.
Oh, okay.
Could you elaborate what you mean by that?
Well, it's an increase in the rates that they charge us for comp, workers' comp, and then,
Yeah.
But I would have to get, I wasn't able to get the email before the meeting, but I can bring something for next time if you want. But that was the short answer that I got, because I asked the same thing. How can we be already? And I got back, it's Kerma. And it's, it has to do with our coverage, an increase in the Kerma coverage.
That's it for me.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice. I don't see any hands online, so we will move on to the next item.
So as you recall, the policy committee did talk about field trips, and in the spirit of what, again, I think is the desire here, even though we haven't had a chance to update that. I'm reporting to the board on the field trips as I approve them. So instead of giving you them all in June, as they come across my desk and I approve them, I will put them out in front of the board in the meetings. In this case, the 2 trips that were approved for this month doesn't mean that they go this month. It's when I got the paperwork and when I approved them. They're both world language field trips. First one is to New York City. It was approved earlier this month. It's for high school little kids or young adults, May 18th and 19th overnight, about 30-40 participants. And then there's the Quebec City trip. Same thing, high school trip, world language. It's in February, 30 to 40 students. And these 2 are for world language. They do these trips annually, generally, except COVID got in the way. And so they're great opportunities for young adults and have an experience, experiencing the culture in New York City, Spanish and Latinx cultures, and there's restaurants and museums and things that go to. Same thing for Quebec.
Sure. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Move on to the coronavirus relief fund.
All right. Okay, coronavirus relief fund. You may recall, and I tried to kind of make this a one-pager. There's a lot of words around the actual, the process that we went through, but you may recall in January 25 of 2022, the town council meeting resolved that the 398,155 be appropriated to the coronavirus relief fund. And you may remember that we split some to the ERF, some to the CRF. January 25th, the town council also articulated that the funds would be used for associate educators in fiscal year 22 and the ESY program in fiscal year 23, and that the CRF agreement between the town and the board would be extended through September so that it could allow for that. So we did do the ESY program, as we said we did. And at this time, the board would be making that official request of the town for the funds as was stated and as was part of the plan and the process back in January when the CRF was extended through September. That's the short version.
So we actually have to vote on this, so technically you really should be doing the word after.
Unless you wanted to, but.
Want to do a 2 read?
Yeah, but but just to put it out there, we needed to get this resolved within September. That's the objective. So we can put it to second if you want. That would be the next meeting.
Yeah. How's everyone feel?
But they need time to react to.
So it's not a policy, right? The policies need 2 reads. Is there anything else specifying that we need? Because I think this is fairly boilerplate stuff.
That's what I figured. If people want to, like I said, I will entertain a motion to move this to board action for L3.
Motion,
Yeah.
Sophia shakes second.
That's how we go.
Griffin?
I was just gonna say, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't vote on this today. I think we've kind of talked about this several times over the past 2 years. So, Dr. Willett, this is basically just reimbursing us for the ESY funds that we've already spent, correct?
That's right. It's exactly what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely should have been under board action, but. Okay, okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other further discussion this time? Okay, we'll do the vote with everyone because we have two members, so go ahead.
Oh, shoot.
Aye.
Yeah, go ahead.
Aye.
Aye. Griffin,
Aye.
Lord?
Aye.
And an aye as well, therefore we move this to L3. We'll vote on the virus relief. Let's move to the presentation.
So this item is an update on the social emotional learning that process and plans that we have for this year. COVID, we did have work that we've done in the district on SEL. And some of that I think was previously presented. And the pandemic and COVID kind of slowed down some of our plans. But you may also recall that at one of the the Board of Ed allocated funds towards the Yale program in the past and an end of year expense. So we were able, thankfully, to train, and it was good timing because they actually discounted it and they made it available online, which wasn't the case in the past. You used to have to send teams down to Yale, down to New Haven. They had to spend the night, so it was much more expensive. We were able to get that done much more efficiently and effectively and for less money. So we were able to train teams in every building. So prior to 2022, we had teams trained in the Yale Ruler Social Emotional Learning Program. So this year, from September really to October, we have established a steering committee, or in the process of establishing a steering committee. Staff of all areas are, if they want to, are able to participate. And we're collecting all the names now, and then we will be setting up meetings. The purpose of the steering committee and actions of the steering committee will be really twofold. The first will be to create a district charter for social and emotional learning, which is one of the program parts of the Yale Ruler program. And then we're also going to have the team, those that want to, split off and create 4 lessons for staff. It's important to make sure that the staff are given as much training as possible in this and are feeling comfortable, because they are going to be implementing it in the classroom next year. And so they really do have to have a good handle and feel confident in using the various aspects of the program, like the mood meter and having a classroom SEL plan, that type of thing. So this team will create 4 standardized 30-minute lessons. The first will be a primer for creating a school-wide charter, which will be based off the district charter. 2 of the lessons will be integrating the mood meter into the pedagogy. And if you're not sure what that is, Google mood meter, Yale Ruler program, you'll get a good rundown of that. But I also included some information on that in this agenda item. For those online, if you scroll down the agenda, you'll see after this item that there's information on that. And the last lesson is a primer for each teacher to create their SEL plan. So January to May, those 4 30-minute trainings will be implemented during the faculty meetings. And then 2 PDER sessions will be dedicated to helping the staff in each school develop their SEL charter for their school, and also get their SEL individual plan for their classrooms in place. So we're providing the trainings, 4 trainings during the year. And we're providing the times both in their faculty meetings for those trainings and in these district ER sessions for developments. And so you can see how important those ER sessions are, because we have a lot of other things that we use them for. But if we didn't have these, we'd be, we would not be able to provide the support necessary for the teachers to be in a place that we all want to be in by the end of the year. The objectives for this year to achieve by the end are that the Tolland Public School District will have a district SEL charter. Each school in the Tolland Public School District will produce their own school SEL charter. Teachers will be prepared to use the mood meter and apply their own practice, apply to their own practice, their own professional practice, and also to their classroom with the kids. And teachers will have an SEL class plan ready for implementation as we go into next year. Most of the work will be done within contractual hours, but some of the work might have to be outside of it. Again, speaking to subs, we're speaking to after hours meetings and work would have to be compensated. And so there'll be a little bit of that. And attached to this is the Yale ruler document or pamphlet. And so if you look at the screen here, it just gives you a rundown on what emotional intelligence is. By the way, Yale is the big player in emotional intelligence programming for schools. And the terminology ruler is applied to their programming. But EI is not a concept that isn't well developed in the larger professional practice. There's a book called EI 2.0. I think it's Bradbury Hicks. There's a lot of literature on EI and how it's made companies much more effective for people to have developed emotional intelligence. It has to do with learning to regulate our own emotions so that we can be our most productive selves and interact with others in the most effective and productive ways. So while the Yale Ruler program is the EI literature and research applied to school systems, it's a broad area. It's not something niche-y or bandwagony. It's actually well developed in the broader culture itself. So we've also had internal book clubs and things studying that and those elements outside of the Ruler program. But the one we're applying directly to the teachers and to the students will be the Yale Ruler program. So that's the general flyover of it. This information provided in the board package should give people that are unfamiliar with it the general idea of how it works.
Can you repeat the title of that? Was it EI 2.0?
Yeah, the book is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I think it is one of the authors is Bradbury. It's actually got a part in it where you can, if you buy the book, I think you get to take the inventory and it'll tell you how proficient you are in emotional intelligence. A person is in emotional intelligence.
Almost seems like a casual magazine.
So, but it's more involved in it's more involved. But anyway, it's a good book.
Can I just ask why was the ruler training chosen? Or was that the program? Just curious.
Well, it's the most well-developed program that was available. And it has the most scaffolds and supports and the most materials and the training was made available at a very good price point for our district because the pandemic allowed it to be taken virtual. And so it's one of, if not the premier program for school systems for the application of it. That doesn't mean that as we go along, we can't evolve other pieces, but say the mood meter is one of the most important parts, and that's well developed under Ruler. Similarly, emotional regulation, things like that, also very well, there's a lot of materials so that the lessons will benefit from a lot of connected materials and literature. So,
And how many teachers have gone to this training at this point?
at this point, we're looking at, it was about, for every school, there was a team of 5 plus an admin for the district level training. I think that the teacher level training was, I'm not criticizing the district level, but I do think the teacher level training was the most beneficial. So we have more than 20 that were trained. But one of the things that's hard about the market we're in right now is it's most painful to experience. And we also, if you have attrition, you lose the people. And so a lot of people that want to do it are, sometimes their teachers have been around for a while, but a lot of the young, new teachers will want to be involved in this, will train them. And if you don't have the right, if you're not competitive, then you might not hold on to them. So that's a good segue into the conversation we're having a little bit later about, the bargaining unit agreement. We've gone through a good one with our teachers. So, keeping that competitive means that we don't lose the talent and we don't lose the investment of the training. So, a couple of people did over the pandemic, transition out, but we still have a core group that's going to be able to execute what we need to do this year. And the goal this year is to bring all staff, that was the trained teams, but to get everybody training.
Now, will we get to review the district SEL charter once it's created?
Well, we'll put it out there. And frankly, if any board member wants to participate, you can. It's generally though, we're trying to get it to happen during when we have everybody together. So it would probably be 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We won't get as many people participating on the school staff side if we have these things at 6, 7, 8. So generally we have to, we'd want to do those sessions somewhere in the afternoon.
I volunteer. When you said I volunteer, yeah, I think this is fantastic. I mean, so your goal is to have the entire, the entire staff by end of fiscal year through this program.
Yeah, and I get to talk about it, but the heavy lifting is done by all the people that will be working with me.
Right.
So we'll be using a lot of the brain power and talent, the great educators and staff that we have in Tolland. And, we're ready for this. We've actually been working on SEL for quite some time. This is just being able to operationalize the mood meter and the charters and the SEL plans, individual classroom plans. Getting to that step is really the launching point. And then it's all into the kids. The kids then start to really get the exposure of being, part of the program.
Right, so I remember we talked about this a while ago in curriculum, and I admit I was a little bit skeptical for the program, because I know that there are a lot of people who try to sell districts a lot of junk to be, frank.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. It seems like a lot of homework was done to find a very good, solid program. It's good to see that it's being rolled out this year. Yeah. So I was curious, once it is implemented, is the district going to do any follow-up with that to see, what the feedback is from the students and staff and see how it's performing?
Yeah, and part of the beauty of the program is that, and this is how I think this is going to play out. It may evolve in a similar but slightly different direction. But I think what will be happening is, teachers will operationalize this in their classes as a part of how to begin class. So, if you look deeply into the EI literature, what it talks about is knowing in some, as a certain aspect of what it talks about is knowing yourself well enough emotionally to get yourself prepared for what the task is that is in front of you. So, for instance, and I'm not going to do it justice, but when you look at the mood meter, if you're in the upper right coordinate, coordinate area of the mood meter, that's not necessarily the best time to have a very serious conversation with someone because you might be, very upset about something, or and I'm very, very much generalizing here, but different emotional states are optimal for different human conditions of action. There are certain optimal states for actually engaging in that type of thing. So, teachers may at the beginning of a class ask everyone, where are you on the mood meter this morning? Let's share where we are on the mood meter. And some may feel like, if 80% of the class is in the red that at that moment, the teacher may choose an activity to help bring the kids down into, a different state of being so that they're optimally prepared for the math. Also, it helps kids self-regulate. When you are in a certain emotional state, it's not the best time to have a stressful, serious conversation. You may want to choose to put off a stressful, serious conversation if you just had a fight with your friend, because you're loaded for bear, your amygdala is activated, your prefrontal cortex might be shut down a little bit, you're not doing your best thinking, it's not the time to engage. And so that's a real intellectualization of the whole thing, but that's really what this does, is it teaches staff and kids to take measure of where they are and then approach what the task is in front of them with knowledge about how how to do that, what's the best timing to do that, what they might need to do before engaging in the activity to provide an optimal result, that type of thing. So they would incorporate that into their morning, as they enter class, they might have kids tell them where they are on the mood meter and then make a decision about how to approach the lesson that day based on where most of the kids are on the mood meter. And the kids would make a decision about how they're approaching the material and what to focus on first and next based on where they are,
A couple follow-up questions. So how, like that's an interesting way you described it, but I'm wondering, is this implemented differently, different age groups? Because I can almost see like that, like a certain age groups being gamed to kind of do anything.
Yeah, Mr. Willett, we're all, I swear to God, we're all still in the red. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, there's always that, and, you know, teachers are experienced in, knowing, you know, managing that piece of it. And at the end of the day, what you want is, you want a takeaway, for the student to operationalize that in their own lives, even outside of school. You know, make decisions about things based on what they've learned about themselves and what, you know, being attuned to their own feelings and how that can affect how they interact with others. So, you know, students, including myself in high school, would definitely, you know, I'm sorry, I'm in the red, man, I can't do anything, or whatever. But you know, over time, the teachers do know how to handle that, because that happens already. That translates into, you know, so tired. Can we not do anything today? Can we just watch a movie? Can we watch Shrek again? Loved it when we watched Shrek in the half day, you know, or whatever. So there, it's always there. That this, you know, this really does give the kids a chance over a period of time to really learn about themselves. Staff too. It's meant to be used by everybody. That's why having staff become very, very well, again, familiarized with it is an important part of this year.
Thank you.
Dr. Willett, is there an opportunity for any kind of data collection that the teachers are going to put together, perhaps to articulate if there's a need for more social or emotional supports in our schools? I know there's always a need, but if this is implemented and all of our staff is trained, perhaps it'll be articulated that there's even more of a need that we're even more aware of.
Yeah, and it might become more sophisticated, because it might be that, you know, we are recognizing and noticing challenges in a certain domain of emotional regulation. Because there's various domains, and we may find that for kids in our schools, it is more in this domain, and then create strategies to address that. So yeah, it'll definitely inform our practice. And, you know, we do end of year surveys with the community. You're all probably familiar with those. Send to all parent guardians and the students in the upper grades and all of that. And, you know, it'll play into this too. Leave all of those to talk about this too.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point, because I was just kind of scrolling through and looking up the Yale mood meter, and it seems like very, you know, pre-K, you know, kindergarten, with the different things that you would talk to and during circle time. So how, and, you know, don't forget, as you move and progress throughout the school system, you don't have that homeroom at the high school. So would this be like an advisory day? Like, how would that, like, I'm just trying to see, because I could, for the younger kids, I could see you guys have circle time, or you have homeroom, you have, you know, a base, whereas high school, you really don't.
Well, it could happen at the beginning of a class, not just homeroom. You know, so if I'm teaching math, getting a sense of where kids are on the mood meter for that day, them knowing where they are and me knowing where they are can help inform how I introduce the concept of math that day. So it's something that can be done in a homeroom, but really, and that's why I'm saying that based on, you know, how this progresses and how the teachers evolve this concept, and you know, how we develop it as a team. But it to me is meant to be used in classes, like embedded in a social studies, embedded in an English class, that type of thing. And when you get deeply into it, you could even talk to it with respect to, you know, the character in the book. You know, what do we feel like? Where do we feel like this character was, and why did they make the decisions the way they did? And it might be that, well, you know, I feel like they were probably on this area of the mood meter, and they decided to engage in this thing when they weren't ready for it or whatever, and it
You
caused
have
the
high
result.
expectations.
What I'm saying is that's how you know, that's when it gets really embedded, because then you can start using the lexicon and the terminology and the methodology to evolve the understanding of people, not just to be thinking about how it applies to themselves, but how it might apply to other people, characters in the book. Approaching somebody that, you know, you may perceive it is in a certain emotional state, you may choose to approach them differently if you're mindful of the emotional state they're in. Like when dad's trying to fix the dryer at home because the heating element isn't working, that's not the time to come and ask. If they could have, $40 for a movie, it might be good to wait because the answer might not be yes, but generally, and that's a very deep oversimplification. Being mindful of people's emotional states can help them better navigate the world. And this would help them do that too, because it gives a system to the process. And it allows kids to become more reflective in, how they approach others. And being mindful of others' feelings, being mindful of how they feel at this moment in time. Is this a good time to engage this other person? How are they feeling? And then choosing the most optimal times and opportunities to interact with each other.
Very good. Any other further questions on this topic? Hold on, let's make sure you have anything.
No, recently, I started working in the Manchester district for Bennett Middle School. And they already have something like this implemented, and that gets communicated to us after school. So we know sort of where kids are at. So this is implemented at the 5th and 6th grade level. And so it's for middle school, at least. I mean, I witnessed it firsthand. I mean, it's worked. Now, is it consistently communicated to us? No. But if we set something up to where, that's under our care, I could see it working absolutely. So we do it, we take the baseline, we take, and average all the stuff out. I do see it being beneficial and effective. So I just thought I'd put that out there.
When you say we, what's your role when you're saying, are you saying we as a board member? Or are you saying we as someone at the school system?
We, before what sentence? What before what sentence? Like,
When you said we implemented or we.
gotcha. No, so we Manchester Schools implemented this. I'm almost positive it's a district-wide implementation and not just a Bennett Academy thing.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, I'll ask some of my coworkers tomorrow. I mean, how do you guys get that communicated to you at the end of the year, and just sort of see how effective and how helpful it is more than anything for the staff to talk and speak with the students. And so, but yeah, no, Manchester Schools.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to get clarity on the role.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, program. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I think, if you don't mind, actually, like, so that got me thinking to what our role could be with this.
Gotcha.
I guess that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
You're employed at the Manchester School District.
Yeah.
So, but as a Board of Ed member, we're here to support it, right? And help this program thrive. So, what came to my thought is, it came to me is, we haven't done rounds in the schools. I think the last one was TMS remote. And then we did TIS. I think Mr. Deneen was on his roller with his leg. I mean, that's how long ago that we've been in the school. I guess my question would be, is how can we see this in action? One of the first slides I was reading over, and this statement's pretty daunting. And I think it's so social emotional learning, and Jen talks about it a lot, we all talk about it a lot. It's very high on our priority list, right? But it says, how do you feel at school each day? Tired, bored, stressed, were the top 3 responses of over 22,000 high school students nationwide. Then frustrated, overwhelmed, and stressed were the top responses from 6,000 educators and school leaders. If this is how our school communities are, what impact might we have to how these leaders lead, teachers teach, and students learn to grow? I really think this is something, if it's working and it's firing on all cylinders in other areas, I'm really excited to see this continue to flourish. And I don't know, I'm kind of dropping a hint that we want to get back into the schools. We got to see Mary and her team and the 6th grade team do the Chromebook. And that's what we were able to engage during COVID. But the last one we got to is TIS. So I really like to see if we could get to see some of this in action.
Well, and to that,
Amongst other things.
we probably will not be in a position necessarily this year to do an instruction rounds on SEL because they're learning it right now.
Right.
But we are going to do the first instructional rounds, and I'm going to put it out there too. In the next week or two is October 13th. I think either that or the 20th. We'll have to check to see if that's the rain date. we're gonna do instructional rounds of BTP. And so as we've done in the past, any board member who wants to be a part of that, you would come along with us on the rounds. And we'll be looking at early intervention through our SRBI, process. So interventions, SRBI, early interventions, and we get to see the intervention process. Learn about limited oral language, the preschool experience, explicit instruction. So these are going to be in place this year, and the first one is mid-October. So I'll be recruiting you to be a part of, coming around like you were in the past when we did this pre-COVID.
Oh, that's perfect.
But SDL would be a really good one to do next year as an
Next year.
instructional. Sure.
Okay, we'll put it in the October 13th so that we have the instructional rounds for, you said Birch Grove, right?
Mm.
Okay.
And it's the Connecticut Right to Read Act is a big deal right now.
Say that again?
It's a Connecticut Right to Read. And so the state of Connecticut is choosing a program for all schools. It did this back in 2007 and it failed, but we will be able to show you how our programming works and how we'll dovetail with the Connecticut Right to Read Act. And they're big on basal kind of reading. So it'll be a good instruction round to participate in. But we're going down a tangent here, and I apologize, but
Yeah.
that'll be a really, really good one if you're interested in intervention, reading programs, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think we discussed the social and emotional. Now we move on to the committee and liaison reports. I know we had a couple things. I know did they meet after our meeting? No,
No,
because you were going to reschedule it for.
yeah, we haven't met, but I think it's the last Wednesday of the month.
Policy reviewed what they had done last meeting, negotiations, we wrapped that up, so that's all set. FFC, Christine,
Yes, we met. Sorry. We did an update on food services and the federal program that should take us through the end of 2022. We reviewed the year-end numbers for fiscal year 22. We reviewed the ESSER funds and what staff positions they're being used for that will fund them for the next few years. We talked about some of the open staff positions, including the SRO. And Dr. Will, I don't know if you have an update on whether those are ready to go. But then just lastly, we also started the review of the capital budget. So just so the rest of the board knows, we should be seeing that at the next board meeting, because then that will go to the town manager. I believe it's the first week of October. So just be prepared that we will have to, Dr. Willett, did we vote on that in one shot last year? And then we send it to them the first week of October?
No, I can't recall. I think
Okay.
we might have put it off to
I
2,
thought we had 2
but the
discussions.
timeline is very tight for the town. The town does want that like in the beginning, usually the first week of October.
We did have 2 because I remember we all sat here and said we want the lift to be removed to put
Right.
it further, and then we wanted our science wings bumped up.
We added,
Do
we add a special meeting then? I'm just wondering now, because if we talk about it for the first time on was September 28th would be the next meeting. So then we're not meeting again until, sorry, I'm just looking at my calendar.
Well, it's
October
that
12th.
would be beyond the deadline.
Okay, so we might have to do the special meeting and get that situated.
Unless you consider
Because-
like an FFC review of the, in
Right.
some cases, if FFC reviews it and anyone who wants to attend can attend, then when we bring it to the board, you may be able to move to it, right? But
Okay. I feel like we also talked, and I have to go back and look at my notes, but did we also talk about talking to the town about pushing it back just a couple of days or something? So that we weren't under such a crunch, but
I can ask that they accept it a little later from us than from the other departments.
okay, because if our next meeting after that is October 12th, I mean, could we maybe see if we can submit it on October 13th or something like that? Might be an option.
I can do that. I can. I'll add.
Okay.
Yeah, because that gives us a little bit of room, because I do know that. I'm trying to remember all the different meetings, because it could have been the FFC that we reviewed it so many times too, because I feel like we reviewed that. And by the time it got to the board level, like it just was, we reviewed it a lot.
Sure, we did have a special meeting.
We did,
Review it, yeah,
okay,
but I would prefer definitely see if they would give us little.
yeah, well.
Yeah.
You know, we can definitely check with them and see if they would be willing to do that. I mean, I don't feel like they move on it fast once we provide it to them.
No, that's a good point. I don't think they did anything with it till the beginning of December as far as finalizing anything. So I mean, if they could give us just a few extra days, that would
We'll
be
have to put
be
that in the
helpful.
letter nicely. We can use the time on our side and not sitting on the desk. Okay.
That's
Perfect,
it.
thank you. Anything else? Am I missing anyone else?
I've got communications,
Oh, communication.
not for a meeting, but I have PTO.
Oh, PTO updates, of course.
So for Tufto, fundraising has done. If you look at their Facebook or Instagram pages or link to their website for the Birch Grove or TIS website, you can order excuse pads. You can find information on setting up Amazon Smile, which is where 0.5% of your purchases are automatically donated from Amazon to Tufto. And you can also give to the fundraiser. Information on both Lyman Pie and the Castle fundraiser will also be sent home soon with students. Also, summer reading recipients at Birch Grove have been enjoying picking out their earned books in the book vending machine. Their next meeting is 10/6 at Birch Grove, in person only. The TMS PTO is desperately looking for new members, as they have only one member returning from last year. Their first fundraiser is going to be a closed kitchen event, and it'll be a local restaurant, so stay tuned for more info on that. Their meetings are virtual, and they are on the second Tuesday of every month. The boosters are grateful to the administration team, their collaborative leadership and support of the boosters. There are some new and some returning executive committee members. They will be continuing to utilize social media to provide school information through the Tolland High Families and Boosters Facebook page. Members are attending various school meetings to encourage booster participation. They're working with Project Graduation on the Eagle Scramble, which is the golf tournament that's on September 25th. People wanting to golf should register soon. Major fundraising efforts over the last couple of years resulted in the new baseball and softball scoreboards that were recently installed. They are coordinating with the Lions Club to provide concessions for some sports events, but would like to come up with a sustainable plan to provide concessions for all home sports events. Their next meeting is 10/17. And then I wanted to quickly mention the school open house schedules. So kindergarten is September 29th from 6:30 to 7:30. First grade is October 3rd from 6:30 to 7:30. Second grade is October 4th from 6:30 to 7:30. Third grade was last night, 9:13. Fourth grade is 9:15 from 6:30 to 8. Fifth grade is 9:20 from 6:30 to 8. Sixth grade is 10/6 from 6:30 to 8. Seventh and eighth grade are 9:21 from 6 to 8:30. And as our student reps mentioned, the high school open house is 9:22 from 5:45 to 6:15.
Thank you. I do think we should try to
Get that out there more. Yep.
just make it a very plain kind of post, and just say, here's all the information.
The Amazon, what's the Amazon?
So you can, if you go into Amazon, you can enroll for Amazon Smile. And if you go to the Tufto page from either Birch Grove or from TIS from their website, and you link to the PTO page and go to their newsletter, there are very well written out instructions.
Yeah.
But basically, once you log into Amazon Smile, it's like you're always logged in. It's just like when your Amazon account comes up, and it automatically, you choose the charity that you, or the program that your donation goes to, and for every purchase you make, they donate 0.5% to Tufto.
That's really neat.
I think we're good, right? I don't think there's anybody else. Okay. Chair Corey, I just hope everyone's enjoying the new school year, good smile, a lot of kids are excited, I think that's really sweet. I love the new year that we have new student reps, and I can't wait to hear what happens throughout the year. I think that's important to have a student's perspective of, the cell phone implementations, things that we may talk about and have discussions, but to actually hear from students, if you don't have students right now in school. I mean, I hear enough from my kids. That's for sure. So that's all I wanted to say. Let's go on to board action. So we have votes.
So there is a recommended motion for the CRF agreement or CRF action, which is.
Well, we're doing the Tolland, we're on L1, Tolland Education Association contract.
Contract, right, sorry.
L3 is the coronavirus that we added. Keep your
Okay,
toes.
so I'll scroll back down that. So as you know, the negotiating team for TPS engaged with the TEA and TAS, which is Talent Administrative Society this year. And the team did an amazing job. I'll comment on a couple of things, but just to give you the overview first. Is this right? Yeah, L1. So the first today is going to be talking about the TEA contract. It's a 1-year duration contract. The wage increase total is 3.6 or $555,838. And there's an elimination of the first step, which means that we'll be more competitive as teachers come in. And it was negotiated, as is always the case, in good faith with the union. The red lines and all that become public after the board approves it. You've had access to those just as part of the negotiating agreement and negotiating process. We don't put the contract out there or the red lines out there until the board actually approves it, but you did have access to that. You have seen them. A couple things to note about this, and then I would just hand it over to Ms. Galchant, who was the chair, for any other comments that you wanted to make. It is a very competitive agreement, and when you do look at teacher bargaining unit settlements right now, this is a competitive bargaining unit settlement. So included some of that information. The negotiation team has seen it. But to give you an example of the districts that have settled so far, you're looking at 3.86% for the first year, 3.93% for the first year, 4.39% for the first year, and Tolland would be 3.6. So of the ones that have been settled, it's one of the most competitive ones settled so far. Fairfield is 4.36, Litchfield is 3.78. This is a very competitive 1-year rate. So it was well negotiated by the team. And so this is just an overview highlight of basically the 1-year contract.
I really don't have anything to add except what Dr. Wilt said. I mean, I think we had a great meeting. We were able to resolve it quickly, which doesn't always happen from what I understand with the TEA. And it's a very competitive contract. I think it's incredibly deserved. That's about it.
Okay, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the board.
So
of
one
Ed.
correction, that says up, so it should say TEA. Motion to accept the board TEA bargaining unit agreement, sorry.
Okay,
So if you're reading it straight, just swap up to with TEA.
okay, I will. Motion to accept the BOA TEA bargaining unit agreement to be enforced from July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on this before we vote?
I have a quick question. So, and maybe this is an offline discussion, I know it's sensitive, but usually these are 3-year agreements. I'm just curious, like why it was a 1-year agreement? Maybe that's something we have to talk about online, but offline, but I'm just curious. Why?
Could I say, I think that there were some concerns raised by the union, and this was the best way to express confidence in the agreement in full.
Yeah, the negotiating team was responsive to the concerns of the TEA. And so I think that worked very favorably for the district because I feel that the TEA worked in very good faith with the school district for a very fair percentage. And again, I would offer that as you start to look at the percentages coming in, very competitive percentage. And so we, you know, Ms. Gauch and the team did a great job being responsive to the concerns that they had, and a one-year agreement was the way through the situation.
I mean, I think we're all aware teachers have been through a lot in the last, few years. And so this was really the best way to, get us back into the new normal. And like I said, to restore confidence with the teachers.
That's fine. I think like the number that they arrived in is very reasonable, I think. So I'm fine with that, especially given, the current labor market. So I'm fine with that. I was just curious. And I guess just a quick follow-up is, when do negotiations start for the TA again?
Just the same time next year, right?
Yeah, what'll happen is we get our timeline from the state of Connecticut.
Okay.
And so it'll be probably very similar. We'll be engaged in summertime with this. Probably needs to be, to a certain point by the beginning of September. And if you don't get to a certain point by the beginning of September, you go into mediation automatically. You don't get to a certain point by their date in October, you go to arbitration. So you have to follow their timelines, which pushes the teams along, which is the design. So we'll look at probably being engaged again, July, August, with a September deadline for mediation, October deadline for arbitration. Okay.
Which is nice, well, which is good that we're having that, because then you have the same negotiations team that's familiar with the conversation. I think that's very important too. So you're talking summer of 2023.
Yeah, talking this coming summer, yeah.
Anyone else have any other further questions? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say good job to the negotiations team, and this is really reasonable, and I was on negotiations last year, and I know it is not easy. So it's a delicate balance between being sensitive to teachers and being sensitive to your responsibilities as a board member, and preserving the district and being fiscally responsible. So I think it's very, very good job.
Okay. With that said, we will do a vote, and I will once again go around the room. And so we'll start with you.
Aye.
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 And we got Griffin.
Aye.
I,
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, this passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll go to our second one that we.
All right, so the next one is the Tolland Administrative Society. TAS is our administrator unit in town. This one is a 3-year duration contract. 3-year duration contract, July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. Some of the highlights here are that, the Columbus Day wording was updated to share with Indigenous Peoples Day, so it's a slash now. So in case the district or the state or wherever goes with that, it'll be in the contract that way. So the wording now says for that item, Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day. Removal of outdated language pertaining to the Affordable Care Act that no longer applies. Bereavement, some parts of that do, but the language that was in there didn't. Bereavement leaves were extended to include an aunt, an uncle, or a grandparent. Religious holidays were increased from 2 to 3, and that's more responsive in Jewish religion and others. Base salary increases. One of the things that is very, very important for us as a district is that our base salaries are competitive with what we would need to, offer if the job ever became open. So every time you do a contract, you do try to increase your bases. Otherwise, if you do not increase the base salaries and the other salaries across the state are increasing, if you did lose or someone retired, you're not going to be competitive when you're trying to get a position filled. Somebody might go all the way through the process, And then you let them know this is what we can offer you, and they're uninterested because they were making much more wherever they were or wherever they feel they can go. So it's important to increase the base salaries, and that was also part of this agreement. Those don't relate to a particular individual right now. Those just relate to that position at its starting point in the hiring. So the wages for GWI are illustrated here, 1.67, 2.0, 2.25 for the years fiscal year 24, 25, 26. In addition to GWI, though, equity adjustments were made for certain positions. And when they do equity adjustments, it's because a commensurate position in other districts is typically compensated at a higher level. So a union will sometimes negotiate for certain positions to then be compensated more fairly or more equitably at the level that it would be compensated for in other places, closer to the average, closer to the mode, that type of thing. In this case, the Director of Pupil Services, supervisors for athletics, mathematics, pupil services, and science, I'm sorry, I repeated that, are the positions getting equity adjustments. And so, actually, I didn't repeat that. Director of Pupil Services is one, supervisor of pupil services is the other. So just to clarify. So when you're looking at the increases that include the equity adjustment, you're looking at fiscal year 24 being a 2.35, fiscal year 25 being a 2.69, and fiscal year 26 being a 2.35 overall. So that's a 7.41 over those 3 years, $140,543. When you look at administrator bargaining unit settlements right now, as of September 9th, extremely competitive. Your negotiating team did a great job. East Hartford, 8.5% over 3 years, Bolton, 8.45%, New Haven, 10.5%, Litchfield, 9.36%, Wyndham, 9%, Middlesex, 8.6%, Hartford County, 8.78%, us, 7.4%. So your administrators, they're getting a fair wage, but they're also working in due diligence and in good faith with Tolland. They're not asking for the world. They were reasonable, and our negotiation team did a great job working with them to come to a very good point.
Yeah, I want to second what Dr. Willett said. Again, extremely competitive. I think it's funny. I think there's 19 people. It's 19 in this union. 14, sorry. Smaller group, but longer meetings in this one. Definitely quite the learning experience for me, especially our last meeting, which went about 4 hours long. It was very apparent, I think, that we needed to do some base salary increases when we looked at, again, comparable districts. It was very apparent. And I think it's great that by doing the equity adjustments that we did, we're still in a very competitive range. The increase with the equity adjustment, 2.35, 2.69, 2.35%. So we really spent a lot of time working to get to a place that we could compromise and both parties could walk away, feeling good about it. And so, I just, again, quite the learning experience, but I think we ended up in a really good place. I think everybody left that room feeling respected, and that that it was a fair conversation.
Yeah, no, I would say that this was definitely a much longer overview with going through all these, and there was a lot of back and forth. It really was. So I think I'm happy where we ended up. But when we say it was a 4-hour meeting, it was a 4-hour meeting of just negotiations. So that for that second one, yeah, I definitely think we addressed some of the issues that we have with our base salaries being comparable with everyone else, and making sure that if someone were to leave, that we could replace, we could have be out there having a conversation, discussion, and getting good candidates if we needed to. Yeah, no, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was not talking. Any other questions at this time? And then we can do a motion. There's no other further questions. Go ahead.
So just for the base salary increases, like, doing the math based on a contract, a lot of them come out to anywhere between $8,000 to $14,000, is that correct? Okay. I'll make sure I have that correct, so.
Yeah,
that-
no, some of them,
Yeah.
it was, they were hired at a very low, and that if they were to leave, we would not be able to get someone at that rate.
So, then you said now, let's just closer to the mode for, okay. Yeah.
No, it does. It's a good contract. It puts us competitive too for base and what we can reach to if we had to. That's one of the biggest changes. It's very useful for us because we were woefully low in some of them, meaning that if we lost those people, you know, we don't want to lose them because they're great people. Also, if you lost them, we wouldn't be, we would not be competitive at hiring. So this does put us more competitive status. But again, it's not too, it is fair. It's not the highest, it's not the lowest, it's fair. Fair amount for great people.
Maybe you could explain, just based on Jake's questions, I know it was helpful for me. Why it's important, like, when you are hiring someone, what you have to do with that base salary.
Yeah, so you know, when somebody comes in, if they came in with zero experience, you start at the base number itself. Then you can give about $9,000 up, you know, a step or a bump up 1,000 each for about 9 years of experience. You can give 1,000 for about every year of experience, so it can reach up to a certain amount. And so what that does is that base plus somebody came in with 9 years, would give us the ability to hire at, you know, 154 rather than 145 and be more competitive with whatever they were making, whatever district they were in. Because even with those bases, if you do look around, if somebody came to us with 10 years of experience at a high school, a lot of high schools would still be paying more. You know, but this is a competitive contract and gets us closer to it.
Yeah, we can't simply, match someone that's coming in that made a different amount of another district. He's limited as to how far he can
How
move
far,
with that
right,
base salary.
yeah.
So when we looked at those numbers, we were nowhere near
Okay,
being able to do that.
yeah, and also, just another clarifying question, it looks like these numbers, they would only apply really to new hires, correct? Like nobody currently is getting like a $10,000 raise on, like, is that?
No, I mean, the thing about this particular contract is that some people are getting GWI and some are getting GWI plus equity.
Mhm.
So some of these bargaining unit members are getting more than other bargaining unit members, and that was by design. They were trying to make sure that as a unit that they were fairly compensated amongst themselves. So that's why it ended where it did, because some of them are getting more than others of them, and that is something they want. So it just shows you their fairness. They weren't all out to get paid the highest dollar they could. They were looking amongst each other and saying, hey, it's not fair that you don't make, what I make. I'm going to give up a little bit of mine so you can have more. And that's how they did this. So credit to them. They were good to each other, and that meant that that unit stayed here in Tolland and that we could keep those people. They weren't out just for themselves individually. So it's a credit to the individuals that are in the admin in this town, that they're looking to find the fairest thing, not the most one or the other of them can make. And you'll notice that in the percentage, because really, as you go through these, this is a modest contract compared to some of these other contracts. Again, they're not getting paid unfairly, but they're definitely not fleecing Tolland in any manner or form. They're getting a decent wage.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna point out too. That's why you see the different percentages, year 1, year 2, and year 3, because those equity adjustments offset.
So it's not just the first year, everything changes, it's offsetting it by the 3 years.
Some of them are
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
more than others.
Yeah,
Yeah, but in average, the total amount comes out to the 7.
So it's like an average of.
but it just goes from one point to the next, so it's a continuum, it's not just like
here it is, you know, like 3 years, that's what it's at a incremental.
And again, even with the equity adjustments, we're at 7.4%, where we're dealing with other districts that are in the 8s and 9s right now. So we were able to do both.
Some are in 12,
Yeah, that's.
11, 12, 11.
Griffin has her hand up.
This is just more of a statement than a question. I understand what you're saying, Dr. Willett, as far as the equity adjustments. I still struggle with that. I don't agree with that. That it's just for those 5 positions to be equal. For me personally, I just think that salary increases should be based on performance and results. And I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, that I'm definitely, you know, struggling with this contract for that reason.
Anyone else have anything else to add or say or do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, and I respect what Ms. Griffin's saying, I would suggest that your admin in this district provide amazing performance for the district in a variety of ways, you know. So to Ms. Griffin's credit, she wants to make sure that you're getting bang for your buck, which I appreciate. I would say in my experience in the career that I've had over, you know, the span of almost closing in on, you know, the 27, 30-year mark, I've never seen more dedicated people. You know, they are under-resourced most of the time. They bend over backwards regularly every day. They're the best group of administrators I've ever experienced anywhere I've ever been. So I do feel like this is very fair to them. Same thing for teachers, you know, but just the conversation we're having is about the admin. I can tell you that they're the best group of people I've ever seen. Hardest working I've ever worked with. Except for one person named Mr. Lambert, who was actually the hardest working admin I've ever met. He's in the audience tonight. Oh, he left, so that plug didn't work. But anyway, you know, second to him.
So, first of all, I mean, our structure is based upon contracts, you know, contracts every X amount of years. I mean, that's just the union structure, right? Although I do understand what we're saying about performance, rewarding performance with financials, right, or other opportunities. It's our structure is a union contract. I will say what concerns me going into negotiations is maintaining, being in a competitive market and ensuring that we are fiscally responsible for our district, yet competitive to get strong educators and also, you know, justly pay our educators that are here doing that. I think that this is a very fair situation. I wasn't on the negotiations team, but I can empathize because we were on it previous, and it is a very difficult and delicate balance, as Sophia has said. I guess it's more of it's a statement and a question is if there was an opportunity for performance declining, there is processes through the years, right, that to handle that on a one-by-one basis. So I think, you know, we can ensure that we're doing performance development, right, accordingly to improve our folks and handle those concerns that we're worried about, I guess. We talk about, you know, rewarding financially in that capacity. So there is processes in place throughout the district, correct, Dr. Willett, for performance and guidance and development and accountability and improvement.
Yeah, definitely. They, and you know, the evaluation process set forth for administrators and teachers. The last time it was updated was 2017. They are going to be updating it again, but it is rigorous. You know, it is a rigorous process that they do have to go through, and there's a lot that they have to, you know, to show. So it's, you know, you do have in this state, in the state of Connecticut in particular, you've got a really, you know, rigorous program for the admin and staff and you know, teachers particularly and admin. So it's, you know, you do tend to get in the Northeast a pretty good bang for your buck for the people that you have.
But I guess that just kind of you know, dovetails into that question. And I don't know what their titles are for each union representative, business agent, or what have you, but that's what they're there to do to negotiate with the Board of Education and whatever and fight for their folks. based on their performance and based on their results and based on, you know, what they've done. I applaud the negotiations team for what they've done. I applaud the union for fighting for their folks as well. So I think we found a good happy balance for sure.
One more question. I'm just looking at the salary schedule here. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, I'm just tired, but looks like the principal, one of our principals is getting like a pay decrease. I don't know if it's a typo.
Well,
Or is
it's
it a decrease? It's like 54.
Is it because we had a person that left?
What you might be seeing, and I'm not looking at what you're seeing, but the salary schedule that's in the contract is a specific person.
Okay.
So it gets a little complicated.
Because
There's your base and then there's the previous principal, and if that person leaves, then a new one comes in, so it might look like it goes down, but that's a different human being.
Okay, all right, that makes, yeah, because we did have someone
Yeah.
in that position. But
So you might see
So
it be here, then go down.
Yeah, okay.
That usually, that only happens when someone leaves. and comes in.
Through the contract,
Yeah,
so the last contract, had different people in the roles in this contract.
well, that opens up a bunch of other questions we won't do. Okay, all right, well, that makes sense, so.
So they would have been hired at
Yeah, at a different level of experience. Okay.
Yeah, somebody coming in might be coming in at a year two, and that person leaving is 15, 10 years.
Yeah, it's weird when it's just an actual person behind the title. Not like that, with other ones. Okay.
And just.
Yeah.
Trying to find my word, so just to wrap up, you know, when we're negotiating these contracts, we're not individually discussing each person and each person's performance, you know, and this is a union, this is a union contract, we are negotiating with a union about positions. And, you know, again, the last meeting was a 4-hour meeting, it took us a great deal of compromise to get to the place that we are. And I think that, you know, if everybody was there at the meeting, they would have seen that and gone through that process with us to why we got to this point. So, you know, and the next step would be arbitration. So, you know, for me personally, in simplistic terms, it certainly doesn't make sense to spend money now on arbitration, especially when, you know, what they're asking for are these very reasonable percentages, even with equity adjustments that are based on specific positions. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we have lawyers present that can explain to us what would happen if we went down the road of arbitration. And so, again, these numbers to me are extremely reasonable, given what we were able to accomplish by doing so, and not spending unnecessary funds going into another step of this process. So we really did spend a lot of time in that last meeting getting to this place.
Okay, so at that time, I think that wraps it up pretty well, so I will entertain the motion. To make it.
Motion to accept the BOE TAS bargaining unit agreement to be enforced from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026.
Hold on a second.
Okay, any last comments from anyone? Online, no? Okay, we will start a voting. Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye. Christine, Griffin,
Nay.
Court?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, therefore it does pass with majority. Okay. Now let's do the coronavirus. I agree.
I do it, and I have language there for you.
yeah. You can go. I'm sorry.
I move to authorize the superintendent to request $273,090 be transferred to the Board of Education from the Coronavirus Relief Fund in fiscal year 2022-2023, in accordance with the procedures set forth in the Coronavirus Relief Fund Agreement between the Board of Education and the Town Council, renewed through September 30th, 2022.
Sophia shakes second.
Sorry for those on the.
Everyone's like, it's like crickets over here.
Oh, yeah.
Any further discussion on this before we go through a vote? I'll start over here.
Aye.
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Work?
Aye.
Aye as well, so we will reach out to them and request that.
Well.
Perfect. Okay. So, now we're into public participation, so at this time, I will still welcome people to speak. You will have 2 minutes. If you could please leave your name and your address for the record, and the comments just have to be limited to the items on the agenda for this public participation portion. If you could please raise your hand if you are online, or if you're in the room, you can just come talk to the owl. And if not,
Ashley, I can't seem to figure out how to raise my hand for some reason. Oh, here I go.
okay, well, raise your hand. Keep Allen, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So here we go. Kate Vallow, 80 Tolland Green. I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Willett for his vision and his follow through actually with the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence Ruler program. I was kind of trying to locate myself on the mood meter about it. It's hard because it's been a long day and I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable at home, but I might even be elated that it's going to be implemented district-wide right now. As we know, social emotional learning is really foundational for all other learning, and providing our students with the opportunity to have this thread of SEL be pervasive across classrooms is only going to serve to support and enhance the quality of every student's educational experience in Tolland. I'm so happy that the Tolland Public Schools is ready to roll it out district-wide, and to know that more of our educators will soon have a chance to access the program and bring it into the classrooms. Our whole school community will benefit. Thanks.
Thank you. Kate. Let's go to Kate Howard-Bender.
Hi friends, Kate Howard Bender, 103 Goose Lane. Actually, Kate Vallow just stole all the things I was going to say. Social emotional learning is the way of the future, and it is how we are going to help our kids to constructively engage in learning. So, huzzah, thank you to the district, thank you to the board for seeing that this is necessary. And that's it. Peace.
This time, any other members would like to speak? Not, I will close out the public participation and move on to points of interest for board members. If anyone has anything that they would like to say. No. Anyone online like to say anything? Raise a hand. Okay, well then, given that that's where we're at, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. All those in favor can say aye.
Going, I'm going.
Aye.
Hi.
You guys are too slow today. It's like 17. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're officially over at 8:42.